When you think of hygiene in the medieval period, it's easy to imagine the characteristic peasant farmer. And while this is funny, and to some extent true, the reality is that medieval Europe took hygiene pretty seriously.
Think medieval people never bathed? The truth is far more complicated and much more fascinating. What if everything you thought you knew about medieval hygiene was wrong? There are countless myths about medieval life, but perhaps none as persistent as the idea that people in the Middle Ages were dirty, smelly, and never bathed. While it is true that daily bathing was rare compared to modern standards, medieval society developed a surprising array of hygiene practices to stay clean, even if full-body baths were infrequent. Today, we'll uncover why bathing was so rare, what medieval people did instead, and how their approach to cleanliness was shaped by their environment, beliefs, and daily needs. 1. Water. Scarce, valuable, and not always safe. Access to clean, fresh water was not guaranteed in the Middle Ages. Wells, rivers, and streams could be contaminated by waste, animals, or runoff from nearby settlements. In urban areas, particularly in growing cities like Paris or London, human and animal waste often ended up dangerously close to water supplies. This meant that drinking or washing with untreated water posed serious health risks. Fetching water was hard work. Peasants, servants, and city dwellers had to carry heavy wooden buckets from communal wells or nearby rivers. Bathing, which required large amounts of water, was a luxury of time and resources most could not afford. Moreover, during dry seasons or droughts, water scarcity made full-body bathing practically impossible. It was prioritized for drinking, cooking, and essential cleaning tasks. In monastic communities, strict regulations often governed how much water could be used per person per day. People understood that stagnant water could spread disease, even if they didn't know about germs. As a result, the use of small amounts of cleaner water for spot washing was much safer than immersing oneself in a communal bath. Today, we take access to clean running water for granted. But for medieval communities, every drop was precious, and using it wisely often meant the difference between life and death. 2. Public bathhouses, centers of cleanliness, commerce, and concern. Despite these challenges, bathhouses flourished in many parts of medieval Europe, especially between the 11th and 14th centuries. Public bathhouses, often located near rivers or water sources, became vital hubs of urban life. Some towns had multiple bathhouses, and entry was relatively affordable even for the working class. These bathhouses offered more than just a place to wash. They served as centers for socializing, conducting business meetings, arranging marriages, and even enjoying light meals. Many included hot rooms, cold rooms, steam rooms, and private tubs. A typical visit could involve soaking in heated water, scrubbing down with soap made from animal fats and lye, and relaxing with friends or strangers. However, public concerns about bathhouses began to rise, particularly during periods of moral reform or epidemics. Church officials worried about promiscuity and inappropriate behavior. During the Black Death, fears of contagion from communal bathing led to widespread closures. In some cities, bathhouses were repurposed for other uses or regulated more strictly. Still, for centuries, bathhouses were common and accepted. They represented a medieval understanding of cleanliness not just as a private duty, but as a public good. 3. Daily washing, a routine, focused on essentials. Although medieval people rarely indulged in full baths, they practiced daily washing of key body parts: hands, face, and feet. This targeted hygiene routine was deeply embedded in cultural and religious norms. Hand washing was particularly emphasized. Before and after meals, it was customary to wash hands, both as a sign of courtesy and as a basic health measure. In wealthier households and monasteries, elaborate hand-washing rituals were performed, sometimes accompanied by prayers. Guests arriving at a noble's home were often offered a bowl and towel to cleanse themselves as a gesture of hospitality. The face was also regularly washed, especially upon waking and before prayers. Cleanliness of the face symbolized spiritual and outward purity. Feet, dusty from dirt roads and open shoes, were washed in the evenings to remove grime and prevent infections. Washing stations with ewers and basins were common in households, even modest ones. In monasteries, cloistered fountains allowed monks to wash before entering communal areas. Towels and cloths were made from linen, a fabric prized for its absorbency. While this routine might seem minimal compared to today's expectations of daily showers, it was effective in maintaining a basic level of personal hygiene within the realities of medieval life. Fourth, linen clothing. The first layer of defense against dirt linen played a vital and often overlooked role in medieval hygiene. Serving as a barrier between the body and outer garments, linen underclothes absorbed sweat, oils, and dirt, helping to keep the skin cleaner. A typical medieval outfit consisted of at least one linen layer, a shirt or chemise worn next to the skin. This garment was relatively easy to wash compared to heavier woolen outerwear, which could be costly and labor-intensive to clean. Linen was frequently laundered, boiled, scrubbed, and dried in the sun to maintain freshness. For the wealthy, multiple changes of linen were a mark of status and hygiene. Even the lower classes made an effort to maintain at least one clean set of linen garments. In some inventories, linen shirts and shifts were among the most valued possessions of servants and peasants. The use of linen as an invisible cleaner highlights the pragmatic approach of medieval people. Instead of obsessing over washing the entire body daily, they protected their skin by regularly changing and washing the fabric closest to it. Fifth, fragrance solutions, herbs, flowers, and perfumes. Without access to modern soaps, shampoos, or deodorants, medieval people turned to nature's pharmacy. Herbs and flowers weren't just culinary or decorative items, they were essential tools in maintaining personal hygiene. Lavender, rosemary, sage, and mint were among the most popular herbs, prized for their strong, pleasant scents and supposed medicinal properties. Wealthy individuals often carried small sachets of dried herbs or wore scented jewelry to mask unpleasant body odors. Clothing might be infused with floral waters, which were created by steeping flowers or herbs in water or alcohol. These infusions were dabbed on the skin or sprinkled on garments. Even combs and hair accessories were sometimes perfumed with natural oils. Public spaces, especially churches and markets, often used incense and herbal smudges to mask the collective smell of many unwashed bodies. Meanwhile, poorer folk relied on more accessible plants like thyme and marjoram to freshen up. Gardens were essential for this fragrant arsenal. In addition to providing food, monastery and manor gardens often included physic gardens, specifically cultivated for medicinal and aromatic purposes. This close relationship between cleanliness and the natural world reflected a holistic view of health that combined physical, spiritual, and environmental well-being. Today, we continue to rely on perfumes and deodorants, but few realize that medieval people had their own versions, straight from nature's bounty. 6. Religious views on cleanliness. Purity of the soul and body religion played a central role in shaping medieval attitudes towards cleanliness. Cleanliness was often associated with spiritual purity, but the balance between bodily care and spiritual focus was delicate. Excessive concern with outward appearance could be seen as vanity, a sin. Monastic rules, like those of the Benedictines, emphasized regular washing, especially of the hands and feet, but discouraged indulgent bathing. Washing was a way to prepare for prayer, meals, and community life, reinforcing the idea that bodily cleanliness reflected inner virtue. At the same time, ascetic movements within Christianity sometimes glorified filth as a symbol of humility. Saints and hermits were celebrated for their rejection of worldly pleasures, including frequent bathing. Stories of holy men who lived in caves, surviving without washing for years, were told to inspire piety. However, for ordinary medieval Christians, cleanliness still mattered. Pilgrims, for example, often bathed before beginning a journey to a holy site. Women washed after childbirth as part of a purification ritual, and special baths were taken before major religious festivals. The medieval world didn't separate hygiene from morality. The two were deeply entwined, shaping when, why, and how people chose to cleanse themselves. 7. Saunas and steam baths, Northern Europe's hygiene secret. While much of medieval Europe reduced full bathing, communities in Scandinavia, the Baltic regions, and parts of Germany preserved a strong culture of sweat bathing. Saunas and steam baths were vital centers of hygiene and social life. In small villages, communal saunas were built from wood and stone. Heated rocks were doused with water to produce steam, creating an intense heat that opened the pores and cleansed the skin. Bathers would alternate between steaming and plunging into cold water, whether in a lake, river, or tub, to invigorate the body. Saunas were not merely for personal use. They played a role in childbirth, healing rituals, and community bonding. Families would gather to bathe, tell stories, and conduct important conversations. Some religious ceremonies even incorporated sauna rituals as a form of purification. This tradition survives today in Finnish saunas and Russian banyas, proving the enduring wisdom of using sweat to achieve cleanliness without large amounts of running water. Compared to other regions, Northern Europeans had access to more freshwater sources, allowing them to maintain robust bathing traditions long after bathhouses elsewhere had declined. 8. Fear of disease. How the Black Death changed hygiene. The mid-14th century brought catastrophe to Europe in the form of the Black Death. This pandemic didn't just kill millions, it changed how medieval people thought about health and cleanliness. Before the plague, public bathhouses were common and well attended. Afterward, paranoia about bad air, miasma, and contagion grew rampant. It was believed that opening the pores during bathing made people more vulnerable to infection. Consequently, public bathing fell out of favor almost overnight. Doctors of the period advised against frequent washing and instead recommended dry hygiene methods, wearing clean linen, changing clothes often, and avoiding contact with water unless absolutely necessary. Houses were fumigated with herbs, streets were cleaned more frequently, and personal space became a matter of survival. This shift helped cement the stereotype of dirty medieval people. But in reality, it was a logical response to an unseen deadly enemy. Ironically, the measures they adopted in fear of disease led to a long-term decline in large-scale public hygiene infrastructure. 9. The ritual of seasonal cleansing. Although daily bathing was rare, medieval people often engaged in seasonal baths, major cleanings that coincided with important dates. Bathing was encouraged before religious festivals like Easter, Christmas, or All Saints' Day. Peasants might also bathe after the long harvest season, cleansing themselves before winter set in. Royal courts and nobility sometimes held elaborate bathing ceremonies, complete with scented waters, herbal infusions, and attendants who helped scrub and rinse. A grand bath was seen as preparation for both physical and spiritual renewal, marking the end or beginning of an important cycle. For most commoners, these baths were simpler but still meaningful. Rivers, ponds, and wooden tubs were pressed into service, and whole families might bathe together to economize on time and water. Today, we think of spring cleaning as something we do for our houses, but for medieval people, cleaning the body according to the seasons was a practical and spiritual act alike. Then, the practical Middle Ages, rethinking medieval hygiene. Modern misconceptions about medieval filth stem largely from an unrealistic comparison to today's hygiene standards. Medieval people understood dirt, disease, and discomfort very well. Their solutions were practical, given their limited technology and environmental challenges. They washed daily, even if not fully immersing themselves in water. They used linen, herbs, and public facilities when possible. They adapted to droughts, disease, and doctrine with ingenuity rather than ignorance. In fact, their communal baths, linen laundering, herbal medicine, and sauna traditions laid foundations for many practices we consider modern today. The biggest difference was not a lack of care, but a different relationship with water, cleanliness, and health. Rather than judging medieval hygiene as primitive, we might better understand it as creative resilience. Would we do any better if faced with their realities? Medieval people weren't dirty. They were determined. In a world of scarce resources and uncertain health, they found ways to live clean, dignified, and resilient lives. Would you survive medieval hygiene habits? Tell us in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this dive into history, don't forget to subscribe for more true stories from the Middle Ages.